friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So very cozy Sunday here in the library. I've got some candles lit, I've got a drink, I've got some chippies, and we're gonna celebrate surpassing 1,250 subscribers here on the channel with a Q&A. So I actually asked for questions to be submitted quite some time ago when we surpassed 1,200 on the channel. Haven't done a Q&A in some time, so I reached out on Instagram and here on YouTube to see if anybody had any questions they would like answered. So finally I'm getting around to it. So yeah, we're just gonna have a cozy chat today, answer everybody's questions. There's some fellow booktubers who asked some questions. So I'll make sure that all of the content creators that we know and love are linked down in the description box below. And so you can go find them. I mean, we're all pretty much a big community here and we know each other, but if you haven't discovered these people yet, you really have to, because they're all fantastic and we love this community. So let's jump into the Q&A. Okay, so like I said, I did put out the request for questions quite some time ago. So I think it was like probably February when I put this out. So I was asked Nosferatu thoughts, please. Which I'm really happy that this question was asked, because I'm planning on rewatching Nosferatu coming up here pretty soon. I think it's available on Amazon Prime now. So Matthew and I actually went to see it on opening night on Christmas Day, December 25th. So we made a whole day out of it. So we don't really celebrate Christmas, and you know, we just use it as a day off. We eat all the foods, we watch movies. It's a good time. So we usually watch Lord of the Rings during kind of the Christmas season, and we skipped that this year so we could go watch Nosferatu on opening night. I was super excited about the movie. Matt was super excited about it as well, but I was really apprehensive because I had such high hopes going into it that I was afraid I was going to be let down. But luckily, I try to stay away from like too many trailers and too many reviews and stuff like that. I didn't want to be swayed, but ultimately it ended up being a masterpiece. I loved every second of it. I cried at the end of it, and you know, it's actually turned out to be probably my favorite movie of all time, just with the story, the costumes, the actors, the ambiance, the set direction, all of that kind of stuff. And really, I think it was a complete masterpiece in cinema. So I really loved it. I know some people thought it was just okay, some people didn't like it. I think for the most part, like within the horror community, people in general liked it. But of course you have to be into that sort of slow burn, atmospheric, gothic kind of horror, which of course I am, and it was just fantastic. So it was great because, like I said, there was so much lead up to it, with the excitement of it being like our Christmas movie, our Yuletide movie, and then we actually left and we went to a huge buffet dinner afterwards and we talked about it, and it was really great. It just turned out to be a great day. So to see a good movie, get a good dinner, have fun with, you know, your partner is just great. So the whole experience was fantastic. And then the second part of this question, so a lot of people submitted like several questions within the same comment, and that was really great. You guys submitted really great questions, and I will throw it out there, if you do have any questions for me that you would like me to answer in the next Q&A, feel free to leave them in the comments below. So the second part is, hope 2025 is being kind to you. Are you writing about your haunted Victorian experiences? So first of all, 2025 has been kind of stressful. I have some medical issues going on, and I got a promotion last year at work, and the type of projects and stuff that I work on are a little bit challenging. So that's kind of eaten into my reading time and my YouTube time as well. I'm trying to find a little bit more balance. I'm doing better this year than I did towards the end of last year. Towards the end of last year, I was working constantly, like 12, 15-hour days. So I've kind of was able to find a little bit of balance with that. I am still working a lot of overtime, but there's, you know, there has to be a time where you just say no, like, no, I'm not going to do anymore. So I've been getting a little bit better with that. But yeah, I've also had some medical issues that I'm dealing with as well. I'm waiting for a procedure right now to be scheduled. I have my surgeon, I've signed all the paperwork, all of that kind of thing. I'm just waiting to get my surgery date. So I think between the two of those things, once work settles down a bit and once I have this medical condition cleared up, I think I'll be feeling a lot better. And then for the other part of that question, will I be writing about my haunted Victorian experiences? And the answer is yes. And I mean, it's one of those things, like I have the story, I have the characters, it's all formulated, I have to get it on paper. And this is another thing that I think I have to try to find a little bit more balance and force myself that, like, even if it's only 30 minutes a day, I'm writing every day. And so that's kind of one of my goals now that I'm out of the heavy campaign season and we've kind of stabilized my medications and stuff like that for the time being. It is something that I want to make sure that I'm finding time for. It's just like I say, like my job takes so much brain power that when I get home I'm exhausted and I have nothing else to give. So I'm trying to find that little bit more balance. But yes, I am planning on writing it. So what I'm planning on doing is taking all of the stories and formulating them into kind of a fictional story with a family. So that's kind of the route I'm going. We'll see how it goes. If not, I'll just write them as nonfiction stories. And the next question is from M at Dark Violet Dreams, so I'll make sure to link her channel down below. Of course, we all love M, I'm pretty sure, but if you haven't discovered her yet, please click on the link below and go give her a watch. So next, what book are you looking forward to reading the most? And this is one of those questions, it's like, do I talk about upcoming releases or do I talk about books that are on my TBR that have been on my TBR forever and, you know, I just haven't gotten around to them yet? So I think I'll go with the books that have been on my TBR for a really, really long time. When it comes to new releases, like there are some that I'm super excited to read, but I really do need to read down my physical TBR because the vintage collection is growing and I really need the space for my vintage collection. So there are books in my collection that I'm going to read and then donate. So there's two in my physical TBR right now. One I think I'm going to put in for the Haunted Victorian book club, so all of the information is linked down below for that as well. So for the summer picks for the book club, I think I'm going to pick 3 books off of my physical TBR so I can get rid of them. So one of them is House of 100 Whispers by Graham Masterton. It is like this gothic manor on the English moors sort of thing in Victorian times. That's all you need to know. There's that one. And then the other one, and I keep saying that I'm going to read this like over and over and over, is Slewfoot by Brom. And I know once I read it, it's going to be one of my favorite books, but it just keeps sliding down the list and I don't get to it. And then we all know I've been struggling with my reading now for probably the past year. And it's coming back on track, but I'm not to where I would like to be yet. So I think I'm going to go with those 2 off of my physical TBR. I'm really excited to read both of them, and I think they're going to have the atmospheric sort of feels that I'm looking for right now. Sorry, Matthew just got home from grocery shopping, so if you hear some bumping and banging around, he's bringing in food from Costco. So I have a few different questions from Lauren at Happy Hounds Library. So again, she'll be linked down below. So the first part of the question is, what are your favorite Goosebumps book covers? We're going to talk about Goosebumps a couple of times actually with these questions. So first of all, I love this cover, but it's also my favorite Goosebumps book, period. So this is number 33, The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. So this is my favorite Goosebumps book. I read it for like my summer reads a couple of years ago, and it was so good. And it's one of those things, when I think about Goosebumps, I think about this book. And I love the cover because this guy is just so super creepy. And I can imagine him in real life being just the most creepy camp counselor you've ever seen. And I was a day camp counselor when I was growing up, not like an overnight camp counselor, but it does remind me of like when I used to go to overnight camps when I was a kid. And this story is fantastic, and I think it appeals to kids and adults, and it has all of the ooey gooey, but it's also a really great story as well. I was looped into this one. I really, really enjoyed it. So this one, like I said, my favorite Goosebumps and my favorite Goosebumps cover. I also really like this cover. This is number 20, The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. So I think I love this cover because it just reminds me so much of, like, not so much Halloween, but like fall. And I think scarecrows are super, super creepy. And I think on the cover of this one, they did it really, really good. He's super creepy, the full moon in the background amongst all of the kind of corn stalks and everything. So I think this one, it sticks out in my mind. I think I was probably freaked out by this cover as a kid. Second part of the question, which Gothic movie character is your style inspiration? And you know, I was thinking about this question, and I don't think it's any one character. But if you're thinking not so much about Gothic movies, but more of goth characters like from the 90s, I would say, and I know this is like super basic and a like kind of an easy answer, but I loved Fairuza Balk in The Craft. I think like her whole style, I remember seeing that movie in the theater when I was in junior high. It came out in 1996, so I would have been 14, so I was like the perfect age. And I remember seeing like her later outfits in the movie when she had kind of went crazy, and it did something to me, and I wanted all of that. So I love like kind of the, you know, sort of the tight corsets with the longer kind of cardigans and stuff like that over it. So I kind of took that as a little bit of an inspiration, and I looped it together with my love of like the traditional sort of Gothic movies, you know, the big houses and the long flowing dresses and the velvet and the lace and the whole thing. So I think if you would pick two, I would say Nancy Downs from The Craft, looped together with kind of the main girl characters from Crimson Peak. Kind of put those together, and that would be kind of like sort of the style that I would be going for. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I would say. Now, in the past couple of years, in the past, say, year and a half, I've been going a little bit more of the gothabilly style. So I have a lot of like 50s style dresses, even 40s style dresses that I think I've gotten a little bit away from the heavy velvets and lace and stuff like that for when I'm in a corporate setting. I have a huge wardrobe. It drives Matthew nuts. But between like my horror t-shirts, my gothabilly style, and the kind of like trad goth style, it kind of varies a little bit. But I would say, like I said, getting back to the actual question, if you take both of those things and put it together, that would be kind of like my style inspiration. And the third part of that question, what are your channel goals for the new year? So I've actually already, I can't say surpassed, but I'm working on my channel goals for this year. Number one, I need to make sure that I'm making time for YouTube. Like I said, I'm trying to find balance with my job and everything. I am very much a career person, but I love doing YouTube. I love talking about books, and I need more of that in my life to find the balance and to, you know, make sure that I'm getting relaxation time and I'm connecting with people and stuff like that outside of my the projects that I'm working on at work. So my one thing is to make sure that I'm making time for YouTube, and I think I've been doing better at that this year than I did last year. I would like to get back up to posting 2 videos a week. You know, I was posting on Wednesdays and Sundays, and then it was Sundays only, and you know, my early bird sprints kind of dropped off and stuff like that. So I want to get back to doing sprints. I want to get back to doing 2 videos a week if I can. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. And the third thing, which is something that I'm actually really proud of myself for doing, is more of the vlog style videos. So I've posted a few vlogs this year, and I think I've got the format that I like down pat, with, you know, just doing my snapshots and everything. Like, even if I'm using my phone, I don't have to worry about bringing like my big camera out with me. and then doing the voiceover. So I edit it all together, do the voiceover, and then I don't have to worry about talking in the actual video the whole time. So I've been really enjoying that. I posted 2 of those for Old School April, and the response was really good on both of them, and I really enjoyed making them. I didn't feel like I was stressed out at all. So that was one of my goals for this year, and I think I'm going to continue with that format. So like I said, 3 biggest things. I need to make time for my YouTube. I want to get back to the 2 posts per week. I want to make sure that I'm doing my sprints. Might not be every week, but make sure that I'm scheduling sprints, because it's a good time to catch up with everyone, and then continuing with doing more of the vlog style videos. So the next set of questions is from Spooky Little Book Nerd, and this was over on Instagram. Who is your favorite author or authors if you can't choose just one? So I could never choose just one. You know, I would definitely have to give a range or a list. So my favorite author when I was growing up was Christopher Pike. I enjoyed Christopher Pike more so than I enjoyed R.L. Stine. And Pike's kind of brand of horror is way different than R.L. Stine's. And I find that it makes you think a little bit more. It has a lot to do with the horrors in real life. Sometimes it gets a little bizarro, sometimes it gets a little off the wall. And I don't love all of his writing, but I definitely preferred Christopher Pike when I was a kid, which is funny because as I was growing up, people are like, who are you talking about? And it wasn't until I found this community that I found other people that read Christopher Pike when they were growing up, and they have collections as well. If it comes to like coming into my adult years, one of my favorite authors that I've discovered, actually both of my favorite authors I would say currently, I've discovered in the past couple of years, and I've discovered since I started reading more Gothic books. So the first is Hester Fox, and it's so funny because we've read a couple of her books for my book club, and both of the books that we did before this month were both not duds. They were fine, but they were her weakest books that I had read by her. And I had read a few, and I was like, oh, I'm going to put her in the book club, and then they ended up not being great. But this month we're reading The Last Heir to Blackwood Library, and it's one of my favorite books, and probably the favorite book by her that she's written. She's a fantastic Gothic writer. There's a lot of historical sort of things wound into her books, but I enjoy her style of writing. I enjoy her style of storytelling, and the atmosphere that she builds. And then along the same lines, Laura Purcell is another author that I've discovered like in the past year or so. I read The Shape of Darkness last year, and as part of the book club, and we did a live show with Sharon Joy from Sharon Joy Reads, and it was one of the best books I had ever read. It completely tore my heart out. And then earlier this year, we read The Poison Thread by her, and I enjoyed it so, so much. So I've read 3 books now by Laura Purcell. I still haven't read The Silent Companions, which is her most well-known book. But I think, like, if you're talking about horror, I would still have to say Christopher Pike. I think probably at this point is because of the nostalgia. But also, I very, very much enjoy Hester Fox and Laura Purcell in kind of the Gothic sphere. And then the next set of questions is from Amanda C., who is a regular viewer here on my channel, and always super, super supportive. So they're asking, which is the rarest book in your entire collection? What is your... Okay, so I'll answer the second part of that next. So what is the rarest book in my entire collection? So as far as it goes, I'm not sure which out of these are the most rare, and I don't know if I have anything on my shelves that's more rare than these, but I don't think so. So first was a surprise to me because I had done a haul a couple of weeks ago, and I showed these books. These are the Horoscopes books. I have 2 that I found at the thrift store. One is Gemini, another one is Leo, and it wasn't until I showed them that everybody was like, oh my god, those are super like ultra rare. And when I went online, they absolutely are. I couldn't like I think on eBay there was 1 posting for 1 book, and it was neither one of these ones. So I was super, super happy to find these. I think I paid $1.79 each. So the fact that I found them at the thrift store in fantastic condition, And it's books that I had no idea how rare they were. That was fantastic. So these definitely go in the rare category. And then I have a couple of other ones. So when we're talking about rare Goosebumps, I did look up rare Goosebumps books. So Werewolf Skin is supposed to be more on the rare side. And then Legend of the Lost Legend, from what I hear, is supposed to be a little bit more on the rare side. But this is just because of, you know, a quick Google search, and I pulled them off the shelf. But the two most rare ones, and I don't know out of these which ones are more rare, and like I said, the horoscopes books are almost impossible to find as well. So I do have this one, Friday the 13th, Part 3 3D. The movie tie-in book novelization, and it's in almost immaculate condition. It looks like it's never been read. The spine is still very, very tight. And I like refuse to even really open this book. So this was a gift 2 years ago, I think, for my birthday. I got it at a very reasonable price. I didn't find it at the thrift store. I did spend more on this book than I typically ever would. But for a gem like this for my collection, it was fantastic. So this is one of those ones that's like top shelf that I will never read. It is a gem for my collection. And then back to Goosebumps for a second, I did actually find 2 copies of this book at my used bookstore. They were $4 each, so I kept one for myself, and I think I did a giveaway for the other one. So I kept this one for myself because it was in a little bit better condition. So this is Monster Blood 4, number 62 in the Goosebumps series. I also love the cover on this one, so you can count this one as one of my favorite Goosebumps covers as well. I love the pink and the purple. Purple is my favorite color. And it's still shiny. It's never been read. There's not a single ding on this thing. Like, it's like even the edges, they're not worn at all. But the best thing about this book is that it still has the trading cards on the inside. So out of these 2, I'm not sure which one is more rare. My fellow book collectors out there, you guys tell me. And these 2 are also, like I said, surprise rare books that I found out book hunting a couple weeks ago. I was going to leave them on the shelf, and then I really, really love the cover, so I figured for $2 or less than $2 a piece, I would bring them home. And then these ones I've had for some time. Both, like I said, are in fantastic condition, especially my Goosebumps Monster Blood 4. But I think out of my entire collection, these ones are absolutely the most rare. And then the second part of Amanda's question, what is your holy grail book that you would like to own someday? There's so many. I couldn't just give you one, but like to own, say, a first edition of Carrie by Stephen King would be fantastic, because not only do I love that movie and the book, but of course it was his first. And then probably the other one would be like a first edition of the Amityville Horror. And I know Amityville is such a polarizing book, but I love the story. I love the whole story behind the story. I love listening to and trying to pick apart what happened with the DeFeos. I watched a lot of documentaries on it. So I think to find a hardcover of the Amityville Horror would also be fantastic. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but right here, I have Ghosts by Hans Holzer, and I'm a huge Hans Holzer fan. I don't believe it, or I don't agree with everything he says about the paranormal, but watching him as a kid was one of the things that threw me in the foray of like paranormal hauntings. So to get a hardcover of that one would be like one of my prized possessions. Even the paperback is one of my prized possessions. I love it. I almost crawled over a lady at the thrift store one day to be able to get to it when I saw it on the shelf. It was unbelievable. So I think, yeah, probably those 3. Probably a hardcover copy of Carrie, a first edition of the Amityville Horror, and a hardcover of Hans Holzer's Ghosts. And then the third part of that question was favorite book cover of all time. And again, there's so many, but one that I picked out of my my collection that I have right now. This one is it is definitely one of my favorite covers of all time, but it is my favorite cover in my current collection right now. So it's this one, Save the Last Dance for Me by Judy Miller. So this is a die cut cover. So you can see just the skeleton hand here holding back the curtain. And when you open it, it has the skeleton with this ballerina here, and I love the cover on this book. I think it's so fantastic, and it's in really, really great condition too. So I think in my current collection, this one has to be my favorite, and probably one of my favorite of all time. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. There's another witchcraft book over here, hardcover, that I have that I love the cover on as well. So I'd probably pick that one also. I'll see if I can put a picture in here. And then Jen from Literary Love 123, again, I'll have her link down below. She has become such a good friend to me, and we bond specifically over the Gothic. So she asks, what first drew you to the Gothic genre? So I think, and I mean, most people know this, I grew up in an old haunted Victorian house that was, you know, in an old city. It's in the oldest city in Canada. Across the street from a graveyard. Like, it was, when you think of me, you're like, of course you grew up in a house like that. So I think what drew me to the Gothic genre is like the atmosphere of the dark and spooky and foreboding and brooding and everything like that, because that was very much the atmosphere that I grew up in. So it's very comforting to me. It feels like home. Ghosts feel like home. Hauntings feel like home. That, you know, the prickles on the back of your neck. And the weather in St. John's is very much like the weather in England or Scotland. It's very rainy, foggy, stormy, windy, and, you know, being in that old drafty house with the wind whistling through and the windows rattling, and you have like a fire in an old fireplace with oil lamps and the whole thing. Like, when you think of me, you would say, wow, that is really stereotypical, but it's literally the way I grew up. And the cemetery across the street, which I have tattooed on my arm here, was my playground. I love that cemetery. Every time I went back to Newfoundland, I would visit it. So it's comforting. It's comforting, and it feels like home. It feels like my childhood. So I think that's what drew me into being like, Gothic horror is definitely what I want to be reading and what I want to be watching, because for me it's very much what I use as stress relief, even though it might be, you know, foreboding and everything when you're watching it or reading it. It's very comforting. So the second part of that question is, what about the Gothic continues to appeal to you? So I mean, right through it's, you know, the dark, spooky, foreboding, atmospheric, everything like that. It keeps me grounded. And you know, I deal with mental health issues and stuff like that. So whenever I can get back to my happy place, which is my childhood home, you know, it just really helps with the whole situation. And then the third part of the question, and this is what I love, is how do you embody the Gothic in your everyday life? So first of all, I mean, even just getting up and putting on black lipstick, I know that's not like Gothic in the element that we're talking about, but it's like 80s, 90s Gothic kind of style. Just doing something like that makes me feel like myself. It makes me feel comfortable. But the place that I put on my black lipstick is, okay, so let's talk about dopamine decorating for a second, because my beauty room makes me happy. It's dark and it has bats and skeletons and you know, like kind of Gothic style apothecary jars and stuff like that. And so even just going in there to get ready for a stressful day at work makes me happy. So that's one way that I do it. The other thing is kind of extending past that, is we're turning our home into a full-on Gothic lair, little bit by little bit. And I will show you guys, I keep saying this, I will show you guys our progress. It's just like I I always say I just want to do one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. But, you know, just finding an ornate mirror to put in my foyer, or I found these gothic looking nightstands to put in my bedroom, stuff like that. So like when I talk about dopamine decorating, it's very gothic. So when I come home from those stressful days at work, I feel like, again, I'm at home. So we got rid of the bright colors, yellow paint. I'm not a beige person at all. I don't want taupe walls. So I finally got over myself and I'm starting to decorate my house in the way that I want. The third way that I embody the gothic in my everyday life is just coming home and lighting some beeswax candles in a candelabra. It gives you that feel. Same thing, I'm starting to collect some oil lamps. Still trying to figure out how to use them in the way that they should be. There's a knack to it, there's a trick to it. So doing stuff like that, having my oil lamps, having my candles and my candelabras, putting on some ambiance in the background that's like dark cello music, closing all the curtains and just having it atmospheric in my home. Just like I said, it brings me back to my childhood, it brings me back to my home, and it makes me feel very, very comfortable. And you know, I know I'm a stereotypical person, but whatever makes you happy, this makes me happy. So I'd say that's how I incorporate the gothic in my everyday life. And then next question is from Jackie from the Jersey Ghouls podcast. Make sure you go over to wherever you get your podcasts and look up the Jersey Ghouls. I've been on there several times, and Jen, who just asked those gothic questions, has been on there several times. The girls are great, so I make sure you go over and give them a follow. So she says, is there a book or series that you haven't seen while thrifting that will be a holy grail find? So again, going back to the ones that I had already spoken about, the Amityville Horror, hardcover of Carrie. I actually did recently, if you saw my last book haul, I found a hardcover first edition of Pet Sematary for $2 at the thrift store. And like, that was a holy grail. It absolutely was. And there's a couple of grail finds coming up in the next book haul that I'm going to be doing. Matthew was away on vacation, so I went thrifting by myself and I found so many books. So I have to do another book haul, so that'll be coming up soon. And then talking about series, so I have this one. This is Horror High Final Curtain. This is number 8 in the Horror High series. So Horror High and Terror Academy are two series that are almost damn near impossible to find out in the wild, and probably Fear Street Seniors as well. I have one Fear Street Seniors book, and it was gifted to me by my friend Cryptic Coil, who will be linked down below. Make sure you go give them a follow. And yeah, any of those series, like to find those in the wild would be incredible. I remember we were at the thrift store one day, and Matt, you know, he's not really into book hunting, but he loves coming with me because it brings me so much joy. But he knows kind of the sort of things that I'm looking for. He knows Fear Street and Christopher Pike and, you know, all of those, the Screech Owls, all of those types of books that I collect. And he came around the corner holding all 3 in the Fear Street Nights series in immaculate condition for $1.79 each. And he was like, hey, he's like, do you need these? And I almost fell over in the aisle of the thrift store. It was unbelievable. I hadn't even seen them. I hadn't even seen them there. I can't remember if I missed them or if I hadn't gotten to that shelf, but he snapped them up right away because he knew that. And they have kind of these metallic covers, like they're not like the normal mainline covers. And so he snapped them up right away and brought them to me. So when stuff like that happens out at the thrift stores, it's fantastic, and it makes for such a great day. And then Jackie asked another question that I love. What is your perfect snow day? Snacks, books, games, meals, activities. So as you guys know, I live in Canada, and it can get hella cold and hella snowy here. I love having snow days. So my perfect snow day would be, definitely the activities would be reading watching movies, and probably like reading an audiobook either when Matthew and I are building Lego together or we're coloring. So usually when we're doing either one of those activities, we'll have either a movie or an audiobook in the background. So I would definitely pick like a dark and spooky audiobook to put on in the background and color, and just have, like, if we're having snacks, I would say you've got to have chips. So I've got Doritos here today to do this Q&A. So I love nacho cheese Doritos. I love ketchup chips because Canadian. And Matthew's favorite are the salt and vinegar Miss Vicky's chips, so he would probably have those. And then we would need to have some chocolate of some sort. Oh, you know what we love doing now? Actually, I'm gonna change this because we now have a wood stove in our living room, and making s'mores in that thing is just so much fun. And like, to have a cold, snowy day and make s'mores with Jersey milk bars specifically, that would be my choice for like a sweet. And then my favorite type of candy are sour cherry blasters. So we'd probably have like a little mix of snacks. And then when it's snowy and cold out like that, to have either like a roast dinner, like a traditional roast dinner with like Yorkshire puddings and mashed potatoes and stuff, or a roast chicken dinner with like, well, we call it dressing, most people call it stuffing, with like apples and stuff, and it smells so good. And to have that in the oven while it's snowing and blowing and there's a fire in, oh, it's just perfect. And then of course we would have to pick a gothic movie to watch, something like Crimson Peak or The Others. The Others is one of my favorite movies. So yeah, that would be my perfect snow day. And honestly, sometimes when it's not even a snow day, I'm anxious and overstimulated, and like if I'm having a high pain day, sometimes we'll just close the curtains, and even though it's not snowing outside, we'll light the candles and the oil lamps and put in a fire and have it like a spooky cozy day, just because it's very homey to me. So that would be my perfect snow day, I would think. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm at the end of my questions that I had saved in my phone. So if you guys have any more questions that you want answered, leave them down in the in the comment box below, or you can DM me or message me on Instagram. Yeah, this is always great just to do a general catch up without too much formality. So I really enjoyed this, and thank you so much for 1,250 subscribers here on YouTube. It was a long time coming, but I'm super, super happy, and we have such an amazing community. So if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and leave me a question or comment down below, because you know I've chatted with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.